Hey everyone, welcome to part 120 of my Pokemon game series in Unity. So in the previous video, we created the page for showing the moves in the summary screen. So in this video, we'll look at how to select different moves from that scene and show the details of those moves like this. So let's look at how to implement this. By the way, you can support the making of the series on Patreon and get access to some cool rewards like the complete project files of the series, exclusive tutorials, and access to the Discord community. There is even an entire course on Patreon that covers the creation of a 3D Pokemon game like this. So if you ever wanted to learn to create 3D RPGs, then check out this course on Patreon. The first few videos are free to watch if you want to just try it out. So before we start, I just want to say a huge thanks to all the patrons who are currently supporting the channel. You guys make the series possible, and I'm grateful to each and every one of you. So let's start implementing the move selection in summary screen. So in the summary screen UI, first I'll create a public property called in move selection. Okay. So this Boolean property will indicate if we are in move selection or not. So I'm now going to create a different state for move selection. I'm just going to keep this simple by using a Boolean variable like this. I don't think there is enough logic in move selection to implement it as a separate state. Alright, so this will indicate if we are in move selection or not. And now from the execute function of the summary state, if we are in move selection, then we should not do things like page selection or Pokemon selection, right? So we can put all this inside this if condition, and here we should check if we are not in the move selection. Only then we should do things like page selection and Pokemon selection. Okay. So next, if the user pressed the Z key when we are in the moves page, then the user should be able to select the moves of the Pokemon. So we should set in move selection to true. So let me check for Z key down, and if we are in the moves page, so we can check that by using the selected page variable. We'll check if it's equal to 1, and if you're not currently in move selection, then we can set in move selection to true. Okay, and then when we press the X key, we should not simply pop the state. Instead, we should check if we are in the move selection or not. So let me actually move this to the else if of the Z key down check. Okay, and from here I'll check if we are currently in move selection. If so, I'll set move selection to false, and otherwise, if you're not in move selection, then I'll just pop the state like we were doing before. Okay, so now we have written the code for going to move selection and going back from it. So next, we have to actually do the move selection when this variable is true, right? So to do the move selection, we can just make our summary screen a generic selection UI. So I'll make it inherit from selection UI, and this will be a selection UI of text slot. All right, and for the move selection, we want to select the name of the move, right? So we can add a text slot to all the text of the move name. So let me find the text of the move names. Alright, here they are. So I'll select all of them and I'll add the text slot to it. And for each text slot, we have to assign the text. So we can just drag and drop the game object to that field. Okay, I have assigned it for all the text. So now from the summary screen UI, we need reference to all the text slots. So we already have references to the text of move names. So we can easily get the text slots from it. So here I'll create another list for the text slots of the move name. I'll just call this move slots. Okay. And then we can get it from the start function. So we already have the text in move names. So from here we can use the select function, and for each move name text we can call get component and get its text slot. Alright, and I'll store this in our move slots list. Okay, so now we have the move slots. So next we have to call the set items function of the selection UI and set all the move slots that we need to select. Okay, so we can't simply call set items and set all the move slots. The reason is because the Pokemon might have less number of moves than the number of move slots we have. So in that case, the extra move slots should not be used for selection. So we consider it like this. Instead, we should only set it when we are setting the move selection to true. Okay, so whenever we are going to the move selection, we have to set the move slots based on the number of moves that the Pokemon has. So if you want to do something when we are setting this property, we can't write the property in this short form. We'll have to write it in the long form itself. So I'll create a private variable for in move selection over here. Alright, and I'll write this property in the long form. Alright, so from getter I'll just return the in move selection variable, and from the setter I'll set the in move selection variable to the value that is set to the property. And when we set the value of in move selection, we should also set the move slots to the selection UI. So from here I'll check if in move selection is true, and if it's true, then I'll call set items and I'll set the move slots to the selection UI. But we should only take the move slots based on the number of moves that our Pokemon has. Right. So I'll use the take function, and for the count, I'll pass the count of the moves that our Pokemon has. Okay. We have to convert this into a list before passing. Alright. And if we are not in the move selection, then we can just clear the items so that we won't be able to select when in move selection is false. Alright. So now we're setting the items to the selection UI. So next we just have to call the handle update function of the selection UI from the execute function of the summary state. So down here, I'll just call summary string dot handle update. Okay. But I don't want to directly call the handle update of the selection UI, because if we do it, then we might call this even when we are not in mouse selection. So to prevent that, what we can do is we can just override the handle update from the summary screen UI, and from here we can call base.handleUpdate only if we are in mouse selection. Okay, so now from here we are calling the handle update of the summary screen UI, and it will only do the selection if we are in mouse selection. So yeah, this is all we have to do for handling mouse selection. So let's go to Unity and try testing this. Okay, I'll just open the summary screen, and now if I go to the Pokemon mouse page and press the Z key, I should be able to select the mouse. Alright, that's working fine. When we are in mouse selection, we won't be able to change the page or change the Pokemon or anything. We will only be able to select the mouse. But if I press the X, then we'll be able to change the Pokemon and the page once again. Alright, so the mouse selection is working fine. So next, when we select a move from here, we also have to update its description. And we also want to show its power and accuracy over here, like this. So let's go ahead and do that. So first I'll create the UI for showing the power and accuracy of the move. So that will be inside the left content area. So over here I'll create an empty game object. I'll just call this move fx UI, and let me just make it cover the entire area of the parent, and then we can just bring this down. Alright, this is not going to have any background, so it doesn't really matter even if it doesn't fit correctly. So in here, first we need a header text and then a table for showing the MoveFX. So we can just copy paste the elements that we need to the MoveFX UI. So since we need a header text, I'll just copy this move heading text and paste it as a child over here. And then we also need the table for showing the FX. So we can just copy the moves table and then modify it. Okay, I have to paste it as a child. Alright. So now we can just add a vertical layout group here, and the text and table should appear. So in this vertical layout group, I just want to control the width, and we can just set the height manually. So I'll set the height something like 100. Okay, and in this table we only need 2 columns and 2 rows. So I'll just delete the first column. So now we only have 2 columns, and I'll also delete the last 2 rows so that we only have 2 rows. Okay, so now that's looking much better. Let me just add some padding to the vertical layout group of the MoveFX UI. I'll just make the left and right 20, top and bottom 10, and I'll also add a little bit of spacing between the elements. So that's looking much better. So now we have to actually change the names of the heading and the table. So this will be FX heading text, not mouse heading text. Alright, and here I'll write FX instead of mouse. And next let me rename the mouse table. So this will be FX table, and the first column will be effect name, and the second column will be effect values. So next let me just change the value of the effect name. So this will be static. The first one will be power, and the second one will be accuracy. And here the effect values will be dynamic. So I'll just give a placeholder value for now. All right. And for the effect names, I'll change the alignment to left. And I'll just give some left padding over here. Maybe 10 or 20. That looks fine. So yeah, now we have the UI for showing the effects of the move. So now when we select a move from the moves table, we also have to set its effect and its description. So let's go ahead and do that. So first we need to get references to the effect value text and the description text from the summary screen UI. So over here, I'll create references for them. So first I'll create a reference for the move description text. And then let me create for the move power and move accuracy text. Okay. And then we also need a reference to the FX UI game object. This whole thing, because this will be disabled by default and we'll only enable it when we select a move. Okay. So let me get a reference to that. All right. And we want this to be disabled by default. So from the start, I'll disable it. And from here, we can also set the description text as empty, because when we have not selected a move, the description must be empty. Okay. So next, when we go to the move selection by setting in move selection to true, we have to enable the move FX UI. So let me enable it from here. All right. And when we go out of the move selection, we can disable the move FX UI. All right. And we can also set the description as empty. So let me just copy and paste the line for doing that. All right. So now, whenever we make a change in the move selection, we also have to update the description, accuracy, and the power of the move. All right. So how can we do that? So we can do that by overriding the update selection in UI function. Right. This will be called whenever we make a change in the selection UI. So we can just override that function from our summary screen UI. Okay. And from here, along with calling the base function, we can also set the move details. So first let me get the reference to the move. So we can get that by calling pokemon.moves of selected item. So this will be the currently selected move. And from it, we can set the move description and all the other details of the move. Okay. So the description we can get from move base. And then let me set the power and accuracy of the move. Okay. So since this is an integer, we need to make it a string. All right. Let me also do the same for the accuracy of the move. Okay. So now we are setting all the move details whenever a change is made in the move selection UI. All right. So now we can go to Unity and try testing this. So first we have to assign these references. Okay, so first let me assign the move description text All right. And then let me assign the move power text and move accuracy text. And finally, I'll assign the move FX UI game object. Okay. So yeah, now we can try testing it. And now the move details should be updated when we select a move. Okay. So yeah, you can see that when we started move selection by pressing Z, the FX UI appeared, and we are changing its value based on the move that we're selecting from here. The accuracy is always 100 because for all our moves, we just set the accuracy as 100. And we don't have description for any of our moves right now. So that is the reason why the description box is empty. If we give some description for our moves, then it will be shown in the description box. So let me just give some description to a couple of our moves real quick and we'll test it. Okay, I've just given description for 2 moves and now let's see if it's working. Okay, so now you can see that when we select a move, the description is also shown if we have a description. All right. So yeah, now we have implemented move selection in our summary screen. So in the summary screen, we can change the page, we can change the Pokemon, and we can also select different moves of the Pokemon and see their details. All right. So we're pretty much done with the implementation of the summary screen. If you want, you can add more pages and show details like abilities of the Pokemon. And if you have features like held items, you can also show that. To implement that, you just have to create a new page like our skills and moves page, and then just show them based on the selection. Okay. So yeah, we're done with the implementation of summary screen. So I'll stop the video here. If you think this video is helpful, please leave a like and consider subscribing to my channel. That will really help me out. You can also support the series by becoming a Patreon if you can afford it. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.